Hello! I hit 1 million views the other day apparently, so I thought I'd turn this video into a special. So this video is going to be a massive before and after showcase with some basic description of what I've done to modify the figures. There's going to be both old stuff and new stuff I haven't posted before, so I hope you enjoy. Also, most of these figures have their own video already, so if you're interested, have a look through my videos. So I'm going through all my pictures alphabetically because that's how I have them sorted in my folder. So first up is Aerith. This is basically just like a normal head swap. I put the far superior Crisis Core head onto the classic body and ta-da! Perfect Aerith. So next up is Ahsoka. I didn't really do all that much. I mainly fixed her lips a little bit and I gave her some eyeliner. And here's a quickie, it's Ash. The original figure's mouth is just a molded line, so I filled it in with black and added a smirk to it. Next up, a different Ash. I slightly resculpted the face, I got rid of some of the wrinkles, and I redid the eyebrows and I redid the eyes completely. I also redid all of the skin tone. Bane. I painted him to be a bit more accurate to the game. I added all the black little scuff marks on his mask, and I also painted the red outline around the eye holes, and I fixed his eyebrows to make him look a bit meaner. Furthermore, I removed the grenade from his right leg to give him a bit more clearance for his legs so he can actually use the articulation now, and I shaved down the sides so he can move his arms down close to his body. For Batman here, I shortened his thighs and I also gave him a cloth cape. It's wired, so it's completely articulated. Originally, Batman towered over every single character on my DC shelf, so I had to do something about it. Bayonetta's glasses originally were really bent and crooked, and I think that's a mainstream issue, so essentially what I did is I cracked them in the middle, filled in the gap, and then realigned them so they're straight. I also shortened her legs to make her be able to fit in with a 7-inch display. Her normal height was... I don't even know what scale it was, but it didn't really work with anything. You can take this as a Smash Bros. Inspired Bayonetta, where they took her proportions and made them a bit more realistic so she would actually look normal in the game. Here's a really old one. It's X-Men 3 Beast. I basically just repainted his head to bring out the Celtic grammar likeness, and as you can see, the likeness is pretty darn good. Next up is a Black Mask figure. I don't really know where this head went, but I basically took the normal DC Universe Classics Black Mask and I resculpted it to look a bit more like, what's in the movie called Under the Red Hood, because I really enjoy that portrayal of Black Mask. I thought it was hilarious. Next up is Harvey Bullock. I got rid of the black outline under his eyes, and I, actually, this entire thing was a full repaint, because it's a prototype figure from China where everything was unpainted. Then I took the Diamond Select Silent Bob and I removed the legs and put it on this figure to make him look a bit more realistic. Carnage. I covered him in super glue and I gave him a full repaint to bring out some depth. Caesar. I got rid of the war paint and I redid his eyes and I basically just repainted the entire thing. It's a pretty big thing in the movie that his eyes are green, so I don't really understand why NECA made his eyes brown. Chris here is a full face repaint, also his arms, but mostly his face. The sculpt is actually really good. NECA just proves once again that they really cannot paint eyes. He's also naturally pale, and since the game is set in Africa, it doesn't really make any sense. Oh, this was one of my first splicing attempts. I took the face from the Advent Children cloud and put it, and I fused it with the Dissidia cloud just because I didn't like how mellow the Dissidia figure looked. I hid the seam line with clay and I sanded it smooth and then I painted everything to cover it up. Clown here is a full repaint. I basically just dirtied him up and repainted his jeans to blue. The main thing is the blue face paint. I think it's 3 layers of blue dry brushing, going lighter and lighter. This is still, in my opinion, the best clown figure they made. He just looks so cool. Arkham Copperhead. I didn't really do much, I just repainted the eyes, made him really pop. I also think I added a smirk. As you can see, the mouth is sort of angled a little bit, so I think I painted in that smirk. Cremator here is a full resculpt of the face. I got rid of all of the battle scars and I resculpted his mouth shut. If you watch my videos, you know that I don't like specific face expressions. Like, I don't like eyes looking to the side, I don't like screaming heads. I prefer non-gritting teeth unless it really fits the character, and I just wanted a more calm, collected look. Daunte! The original NECA head is really, really tiny and looks really grim and serious, and that's not how I think of Daunte, so I took the PlayArts Kai head and I modified it heavily so it would fit into the body. I think it's in pretty good scale. I also replaced his upper arms with that of a NECA Freddy Krueger, and I made him a new coat, also from the PlayArts figure, and I bulked up his torso bit with clay on the inside to fill him out a bit more, because he's really, really skinny looking if you look at him from the side. This here is a prelude to the 7-inch figure. This is the PlayArt's Kai Daunte, and I pretty much removed all the face paint except for the eyes and the eyebrows, and after a lot of modifications, this is the head that ultimately went on the 7-inch figure. So here is the Lord of Darkness. I repainted his eyes, and I resculpted his mouth and gave him a sassy Tim Curry grin to bank on the fact that he's played by Tim Curry, who's like one of the greatest actors of all time. I also removed the big rigid rubber cape and gave him a pleather cape, so now his arms can actually move. Moving on, this is sort of embarrassing. This is my repaint of the DC Direct Darkside. I wanted him to look more like his animated appearance. Eventually, I took the head from this and I upgraded it. Well, I upgraded the body by putting it on the DC Superheroes body, which I also then repainted. Nowadays, I have the DC Universe Classics figure in my display, but this one is actually for sale on eBay right now if you're interested. Davy Jones here is a face resculpt. I gave him more of a handlebar type of mustache, and I've angled his brow down a bit so he looks a bit meaner. Next up is my Death from Darksiders 2. I'm not going to go into how I made the body, but the head is a Return of Marvel Legends Ghost Rider. I wanted to make it easier during the resculpting process by using something that already had skull features. And then I added hair from my fodder bin, and I attached some bendy wire to simulate the hair that hangs down over his face. Next up is my most recent project. I got the Figuarts Donald Duck figure and I really like it, except the neutral closed beak face has him looking off to the side, which once again I hate. I color matched the blue and painted in a straight left eye. Here's my bodiless Dudley. Dudley is one of my favourite characters from Street Fighter and I really want a figure of him. So I took a NECA Guilehead, because he had really similar features to Dudley, and I resculpted it completely, except for the chin and the nose pretty much. He's been like this for like 2 years, so I'm not really sure if I'm ever gonna finish him, but maybe, one day. Here's an oldie but goldie. It's my repainted Elizabeth from Bioshock Infinite. It's mainly just the eyes, because originally she looked a bit like a druggie. I also gave the lips a more natural colour. Moving on, here's a Gambit head cast that I simply painted up. There is a video on this channel where I paint this live, and here's me basically just practicing skin tone. Really solid sculpt on this Gandalf figure though. Groot here was one of the first wash jobs I ever did. It's a really basic job, so all I did was I took some black and I added a whole lot of water to it, and then I just brushed over the entire figure. Here's my NECA Hagrid. I think NECA originally sculpted him to look a bit mean. He didn't really come across as the friendly giant to me, so I redid the eyebrows and I added a whole lot more beard, and I also repainted the entire face. I think he looks a little bit more like Robbie Coltrane now. Here's my Arkham Knight Harley. I thought the original head looked a bit too dead, so I took the Arkham Asylum Harley head, cut off the face and spliced it onto the Arkham Knight, well, the rest of the Arkham Knight head. Then I gave it a full repaint, and now I'm pretty sure this is one of my favourite customs. Here's a pretty ambitious custom. This is my Arkham City Mad Hatter figure. I'm not going to go into the body because there's a whole video already for that, but I resculpted the face, mainly the brow and the mouth, and I added more hair hanging down and gave it a full repaint, and I also adjusted the tag on the hat so it's on the side. I'm gonna be honest, I actually based the head off of Arkham Origins, but I like his appearance in that game more anyway, so oh well. Here's my old Heihachi custom that I sold quite recently. Gotta make room for the Storm Collectibles one. I mainly adjusted the brow and gave it a full repaint. Here's my resculpt of Hisako. Like I said, I don't like specific expressions, so I sculpted her mouth closed and gave her head a full repaint. Here's my custom The Houndour Sandor Clegane. I pretty much just repainted the entire thing, resculpted the area over his right eye to make it look a bit more burnt, and I cut up his hair so it would look a bit more ragged and sloppy. Here's another Hound, this time from Transformers. I gave him a full repaint and I made him a belt from various photo parts, and I gave him a cigar made out of a nail. Here's my Xianko. I reshaped the mouth a little bit to make her look more like she's smiling, and I did some very, very basic eyelashes so she wouldn't look so dead. Well, ironically, yeah, but still. Here's my Poison Ivy. The original head looks a bit like an alien. This isn't like my greatest job, but I just tried to save it. I also gave her Anne O'Brien's hair. Here's my David Bowie custom. I redid the makeup, the eyes, and the lips. McFarlane Toys is now using like the face print technology, but somehow they still managed to screw it up, so I just tried to save it, and I'm really happy with the result. Okay, here's Jen from Splatter House that I pretty much just made as an accessory for Rick. This was my first time trying to sculpt hair, and it really shows and it looks terrible. But at least the necklace is good. I mean, she serves her purpose. Here's my Arkham Asylum Joker. I'm not going to go into the body once again, but let's see, what did I do? I repainted the hair to a more vibrant green. I also repainted the eyes, because they were a bit uneven, and I put more white on his face in general. Here's my Russell Crowe figure. I repainted his eyes and his eyebrows, and like the likeness is actually really, really good. Kudos, Mattel. Here's my Kalibak. All I did was I gave him normal eyes, and I gave him a little bit more hair to match his animated appearance. Here's Ken. I reshaped the mouth into a smirk. That's it. Here's Kermit. If you look at the corners of the mouth, you can see that I sculpted it so it looks a bit more like he's smiling. I just wanted him to look a bit happier, that's all. Moving on, I bought the Arkham Origins Killer Croc. The entire figure broke, but I salvaged the head and I repainted it. I didn't like the original paint job. Here's my Kingpin. I didn't like the original head, so I took the head from it was like a weird little minifigure with a big head, and I repainted it and put it on the body. Kratos from God of War 4. I just redid the eyes, because, you know, NECA and eyes. Here's my Kuwabara. This is another graft job. I took the face from like a WCF figure, and I cut the face itself off, and then I did the same on the original figure, and I just grafted it on with clay. Here's an unfinished Lobo. I wanted to give him like a really big exaggerated chin like in the animated series. Here's my Marcus Fenix. I cut off those huge meat flaps he had on the side of his head, and I smoothed it out with clay, and then I gave it a full repaint. The original figure had really exaggerated wrinkles and had like weird holes everywhere. Mario, as usual, I don't like specific expressions, so I took the head from a McDonald's figure, modified it, and put it on. Here's Nathan Drake. I resculpted his right brow, and I filled in that wound he's got on his forehead, and then I gave it a full repaint, and I also, quite recently, today actually, I painted his hair brown instead with a brown dry brush. Nemesis. This is another full body custom, but I resculpted the mouth so that the bottom bit is flat, and I gave it a full repaint, and new tentacles, yada yada yada, going into the body. Let's move on to the next one. Nick Fury. I didn't really like Hasbro's original head. It doesn't really look like Samuel L. Jackson to me at all, so I took the Shaft figure from McFarlane Toys and I sculpted an eye patch onto it, and then I modified it so it would fit into the Hasbro body. Arkham Knight Oracle. The original figure looks weird, so I stripped the entire face off of paint, and then I pretty much repainted everything. I lowered the eyebrows in particular, and I made her mouth less porn starry, and then I just painted in the eyes. Palpatine here is a full face repaint and a cloak from Rickor409 on eBay. Okay, another specific expression that doesn't really make any sense. I resculpted his face to have an evil grin instead of whatever that's supposed to be, and I got rid of the eye in the bottle because it just looks a bit too exaggerated in there. Then I lowered the eyebrow and gave him a full repaint. Piccolo, just repainted him to be in his anime colors. Here's a really bad Optimus Prime Revenge of the Fallen repaint. I mean, we're all starting off somewhere, right? Here's my Professor Pig custom. I have a video of me doing this live as well. It's basically just me weathering the mask so it looks more like the one in game. Really fun project. Pyramid Head, I basically just made him a bit taller. I extended the torso a little bit. Earlier he came across as a midget. The Bandai Model Kit R2, this is just a weathering job. Randy Savage, I added more beard, and that's about it. Here's my Lord Raptor custom. It started off as a movie Ghost Rider, because I really wanted the articulated mouth, and then it's a full resculpt after that. A shrunken Hot Toys Red Skull headcast I modified and painted up. I resculpted the mouth so it's closed, and that's it. Here's a work in progress Reinhardt figure from Overwatch. I used one of the backpack hangers as a base because I wanted to preserve the whole Reinhardt spirit, but as you can see I had to resculpt pretty much everything. I'm still really struggling on the body, but I have it in backup just in case Figma or whoever never makes a Reinhardt figure. An 8-inch Figma Reinhardt is seriously my grail. Here's Rick from Splatter House. This is an Avengers 1 movie Hulk, and the head is just completely resculpted. I think actually this is the first major sculpting job I've ever done on a head, and I think it still really holds up. I really like how this turned out. More specific expressions, yay! I don't know what expression this is supposed to be, but I resculpted the entire thing into a cocky smirk, which is the one expression pretty much every Riddler figure ever should have. And I gave him glasses and repainted the entire thing. Oh, and I also modified the brow. Here's my Rocket Raccoon. I didn't really like the comic head, so I resculpted it to look a bit more like his Marvel vs. Capcom 3 appearance. I think it turned out good. Rogue. This is just a quick eye fix. Hasper messed up the eyes. Ryu. Sota's head doesn't really look like Ryu at all. It doesn't even look Asian, so I took the head from a mini bust. I resculpted it slightly, then I fixed the eyebrows, and then gave it a full repaint, and then I put it on the body. Sabretooth. I don't actually hate the original expression, it's just I like my Sabretooth a little bit more sadistic. And as you can see in the comic panel up above, that's exactly how I think of Sabretooth. So I resculpted the mouth into like an evil grin, and that's it. Scarecrow, just a weather job pretty much, a lot of dry brushing. Scrooge, I closed his beak. For more info on that, you can check out the video. Sephiroth, I repainted his hair to a lighter grey, I repainted his eyes and his eyebrows. Sinestro, this is just a quick head swap with a DC Universe Classics figure and a DC Direct figure. I also color matched the hands, and I gave him yellow eyes instead of green. Figma Snake, I resculpted the bandana so it sits a bit lower to the eyes like in the game. I also made him taller so he would fit in more in my display because the Figma Snake is really tiny. It's a repaint of the Funko Pop Songbird. I originally just wanted to make the eyes yellow, but I wanted it to be really smooth, so I went to spray paint it. And I did a really bad job at masking it, so the paint got everywhere and I basically gave up. I spray painted the entire thing black and repainted it from scratch. On the plus side, it's way more accurate now at least. Spawn. Believe it or not, but once upon a time, McFarlane Toys actually made a super articulated Spawn figure. The only problem is they gave him articulation everywhere except his shoulders. They were still like a normal swivel joint, so I gave him ball jointed shoulders. Star-Lord, just a simple mask repaint. Starfire, I think the original looks a bit... there's something about the face, I don't really like it, so I repainted the lips and I made the eyes bigger for a friendlier look. I think the original looks really smug. There's something about those eyes, I do not like it. Sweet Tooth or Needles Cane, I pretty much just resculpted the mask a little bit and made his eye red and painted the area around his eye black to give it more contrast. I also gave him super articulated legs and soft good trousers. Tarkin headcast I painted up. I resculpted it slightly though. Another really old custom. This is a repaint of the original Taskmaster figure. I just wanted him to look a bit more like he did in MVC3. A more recent repaint of a more recent Taskmaster figure. Same thing here, I just wanted him to look more like he did in MVC3. Team Rocket figures. Once again, they're looking off to the side, and they're also of the new designs, which I don't really like all that much. I much prefer the old classic Team Rocket, because that's what I grew up with. So I took the heads from the Bandai figures from like the late 90s, and I modified them and fit them onto the bodies. I also repainted them, of course. Here's something random. It's a shortened Diamond Select Dark World Thor. Long story short, I really like the head sculpt, but he was just too tall to fit into my display, so I went about trying to make him shorter. I don't really know how I feel about this. Here's my Thrawn figure. I didn't really like the original head when I saw it revealed. It had too many wrinkles and the eyebrow was constantly raised. All I really wanted to see was the Rebels cartoon version of Thrawn, just slightly realified. So I set out to resculpt the head and I thinned it down and just in general tried to capture more of the Rebels look. And then I gave it a full repaint, of course. Two-Face. The metal sculpt is really good, but it's also really soft, so I did plenty of shading to bring out some detail. I added a 5 o'clock stubble, and I resculpted the burnt eye to give it a bit of a meaner look. Darth Vader. So the original Black Series head sucks for Vader, it looks like a sad puppy or something, so I took the Bandai Model Kit head and I put it on the Black Series body, and ta-da, perfect Vader. Here's my custom Waldorf figure. This is also really old and before I really got the hang of sculpting. I mean, I'm not implying I have the hang of sculpting now, but I was way worse back then. But I modified the eyes a little bit to make them more accurate to the puppets, and I re-sculpted his hair to give it a bit of a crazier look. There's not really too much you can do with this figure though, because the jawline is really off. This is random, but here's a Wally figure I made. The original figure had like swivel arms, so I took the arms from another cheaper Wally and I attached them. I really like the eyes on this one though. Here's my Walter White custom. Basically, the original Mezco figure is a statue. It doesn't have any points of articulation at all. So I mixed parts in from a Mezco spirit figure, and now I have a fully posable Walter White figure. Here's my Albert Wesker. The face is completely resculpted, and I added new sunglasses, and I resculpted the hair, and I gave him a full repaint. Here's something really old as well. These are the Wreckers from Dark of the Moon. This is pretty much when I learned how to paint metal, so I just sort of went all in and repainted every single Transformer I had. Here's my Xavier figure. Fortunately for me, there seems to be an abundance of Captain Picard figures, and since Patrick Stewart doesn't seem to age, every single figure with a good likeness is a good match. Yoda, one of my first big hits on YouTube. My Yoda figure here is slightly modified because I stripped him of paint using acetone and I used a bit too much, so it sort of ate away some plastic, so I had to resculpt a couple of things, mainly the eyelids and the bit under his mouth. This is a full repaint, of course, and he also has some cotton to simulate the thin hair he's got in Empire Strikes Back. If you want one of my repaints, I'll gladly paint one up for you for a commission. Just contact me. And if you're still around, this concludes my before and after showcase, and I hope you found it interesting, and I hope you enjoy my content in the future.